Tito was the next big thing. He was the bad boy. They had the whole Lions Den rivalry thing going on. Tito had beaten up a couple of my training guys and guys that I mentored. And, he was the perfect opponent for me at the time. And they wanted me to pump it up and they wanted me to say, all kinds of stuff. I did what I was comfortable with. Tito and I were friends. We hung out, we partied. We did everything but train together. I hadn't shown him that part yet. I could tell he was the next size up. He was like Ken to me. So I kind of think he was at least 220, 225 when he got in the case the next time. I saw him make 199.9999, but it took 3 attempts that he was dying. I knew there'd be 2 ways to beat Tito. So I knew if I could catch him really quick, I could submit him, before he got strong, or I could wear him down, because I knew he didn't really get cardio. Like I didn't get cardio when I was younger. At the time, Tito had a very plain wrestling style, where he left his arms out. And when you watch the fight again, I make a strategic move where I turn my back to him, I let him lift me, and then when he sets me down, I spin around for an armbar. All of that was planned. That was a technique that I dreamt up, that I practiced, and I just didn't get it. I was literally like a millisecond too late, and he scooped his arm out. But that was my moment to beat him in 30 seconds. And then when that didn't go through, I sat down to do my work. But, I knew I could wear him out and talk him down, and then stand him up and knock him out. And I knew after that, we just settled down to grind it up. I wasn't the best striker back then. I was still nervous about getting hit and stuff. But I knew that he was much more nervous than me, and I knew my striking was much better than his. So I knew if we could get into, 15 minutes, that, that striking would scare the crap out of him and, would cause him to, to give up or do things that he didn't want to do. And it was about surviving that, 16 minutes of fury. He was way stronger than me. I couldn't fight him or stop him from moving me. So I knew that, he couldn't go 25 minutes, sprinting. This is the time, when we were just talking about the sport. I was training with, Jerry Rice, track and field coach. So my understanding of vascular conditioning and the ability to make somebody tired was just, 10 times what he understood. And I knew that he'd crumble, and not in a bad way, but I knew he'd get tired. That's what happens when you're trying to run a sprint and do an MMA fight. So I knew he'd get tired, and I knew that if he didn't hurt me or cut me, and he almost finished me, I could hear him really breathing in the, second half of the second round. In the third round, when he stuck his finger in my cut and tried to pull my cut open, I do this monkey roll, and I get to a dog position, and he knees me in the head, and he splits my head open good. And I go to my guard to see what's going on, and he literally, on John Lober's advice from his corner, sticks his hand to my cut and starts ripping it open. And you can hear the audio. Lober's like, tear it open. Looks like I'm busted. Tear it open. And Tito's doing it. That's when I knew. I was like, okay, this guy's desperate. I just need to get him back on his feet and knock him out. Well, what happened is I have him in an open guard position. And in an open guard position, you can control and feel all the body weight. So the one moment that he stopped, relaxed, and took a breath is the moment that I made my jump and flipped him over and made that, those 5 or 6 bursting moves. But I was waiting for him to, that one moment to get soft, that one moment to sort of, let his balance be in control, from me and not, not the opposite. And that was the moment where he went, okay, well, maybe Frank can hold me for a second instead of me holding Frank. And that's when I flipped him. Well, I was trying to finish him with the strike because that would have been the best drama, him falling down after that escape and big burst. That didn't work, so then I switched to the guillotine, and all credit to Tito, I could not choke him, although I opened my palm over his mouth and smothered him until he jumped through. It's only when he jumped through that I was able to sort of, swivel my hips around and get out to a dominant position. But it was solely because I was covering his mouth. He was out of air. I just punched him in his chin 4 or 5 times, and he didn't know what the hell was going on. When I got done, I felt like I could, go another 3 or 4 rounds, but I also felt like I'd never done a physical exercise like that in my life. I pushed my body as far as it could possibly go. You see after the fight, he put the shirt on. That was my old UFC shirt, my first, championship shirt. And, he stood in line at an event in Los Angeles and waited for hundreds of people to get it signed by me when he was still a contender, like when he was on his way up. So I think he had a lot of respect. And after that fight, you see his embrace, and I'm telling him, come train with me. Because I knew if I taught him stuff, nobody was going to beat him. And that's why I fought him. You know, he's a good kid. You know, I knew the change was coming. I knew I was leaving. And I knew if I taught him a few things, he could whoop everybody's butt for a long time. I was never going to fight him again. I got him when he was young. I got him when he didn't have the knowledge. I gave him the knowledge. But now I'm not going to fight him. Now he's too big. I mean, I talked about it, and it sounded good. But let's be truthful. He literally is 2 sizes bigger than me. You know, he would smash me. So I re-signed a new contract to fight Tito with the intention of beating him and retiring and getting out. Time it was a departure because I had a, acting career lined up and a Hollywood career lined up. And literally the sport was dying. Like I was taking pay cuts. I was, lobbying for the sport. I was, spending more time, speaking for the sport than actually training. So I could see the end of one era and career coming and the need for another. So I was making a clean exit, and if it came back, great. I was a young man, but, it didn't look like it. I mean, sport was dying. I mean, we had the smallest audience ever. We had, real bad political press, and there was no money. I mean, and there was really no future. Just a really bad time to be like a world champion in a sport that nobody appreciated. But the whole public perception was just bad. I mean, it was way bad. For me, that was really the height of my physical excellence. I was the athlete. I wanted to be a world champion. I wanted the best in the world. And then at the same time, I was learning about business and branding and what I needed to do for my future, my family, and my career. And it all came together that night. I was the best athlete ever that night. And I was the smartest businessman that night. I was going to become a free agent and, really take control. But what I wanted to do with my career and my future. I'm just happy to have won. Imagine if I'd have lost Tito, rubbing that into this day.